welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my birth story video. If you're new here, my name is Katelyn and I just had a baby boy 3 months ago, and first of all, it has been the best 3 months of my entire life. He is the absolute best. We love him so much. But before it got too long, I wanted to film the birth story just so I don't forget anything. I love watching these types of videos on YouTube. When I was pregnant, I think I watched like so many videos like this because I just was so curious, and being a first-time mom, I didn't know what to expect. So watching a ton of videos really did help me feel a little bit better going into the whole process. So that's why I'm making this video today. One, for us to have it to look back on. And two, for those new moms or moms-to-be, future moms, if you're watching this, I hope you get a little bit of advice from it. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll go ahead and get started. My birth plan going into it, being a new mom, really not sure what to expect. I wanted to be as natural as possible to see what my body could do on its own. And then once the pain got too bad to where I couldn't take it, then I planned on getting the epidural. I have a pretty high pain tolerance, but the thought of birth is just scary, especially being a new mom and you don't know what to expect. So I did plan on getting the epidural. And I'll start with the day of. I was 38 weeks, 4 days pregnant. I was due November 15th and it was November 5th. It was a Monday. I had my last prenatal appointment. Didn't know that it was going to be my last prenatal appointment. I had actually started around 37 weeks with high blood pressure, and normally I have, sorry my arm itches, normally I have a really low blood pressure. So it started getting like normal range, and then towards the end, around 36, 37 weeks, it started getting higher. 37 weeks was like, wow, that's pretty high. And then 38 weeks, like on the day that I hit 38 weeks, I believe, like my blood pressure was super high and I was swelling a lot, which is all normal, you know. My doctor wasn't super concerned about it. I had called her a couple times when I checked my blood pressure at home and it was higher. She said just to lay down and relax, and as long as I laid down, my blood pressure did go back down to a normal state. So it wasn't overly concerning at the time. So anyway, that Thursday, I had left work early, the Thursday before, with high blood pressure, and went home and rested all weekend. My blood pressure stayed pretty normal. I pretty much was in bed all weekend. So I was like, okay, at my appointment on Monday, I'm sure that she's either going to put me on bed rest or she's going to think about inducing me. I never thought like it's going to be that day. Like I thought maybe that week, you know, she was going to induce me. Well, anyway, so we go to the appointment, and I was even telling my husband, I was like, what if this is our last appointment? You know, we brought our hospital bags with us just in case. The morning of, I had showered, I washed my hair, I got ready just in case. I don't know, I guess I had like a feeling in the back of my mind, like it may happen, but then I was kind of like, I'm not going to get my hopes up just in case it doesn't. So we went to the appointment, checked my blood pressure, and it was like out the roof high. And I had been laying down all weekend, so she was like, you know, the preeclampsia is a concern. She didn't think that I was getting it. She thought that maybe it was a start of it, and she was like, so there's no point in prolonging this. You're full term. I think you're ready, you know, and kind of just was talking it up to me. And of course, I was so ready. I was like, yes, I'm miserable. Let's get this baby out. So we were like so excited. She was talking to me, and I was like getting excited. I'm like, okay, so it's gonna happen today. And my husband's like, wait, what? It's happening today? Like, he was kind of out of it. He missed the whole conversation, then came in on the end of it, and he's like, wait, we're going to have a baby right now? I was like, yeah, we're going right now to have a baby. But of course, we decided to be induced, and of course, with being induced with your first baby, they say it can take many hours. You know, they were even saying like 36 to 72 hours it could take. So we were like, okay, so we could be here for a few days without a baby. At that appointment, I'll also mention that I was already 3 centimeters dilated, almost to 4, she said. So that was good, that I was already kind of like, you know, dilating on my own. That was good. So they call over to labor and delivery. They get us a room ready, and you know, of course, we start calling our families to let them know we're being induced today, but you know, it might be a while, so you don't have to rush up to the hospital. So we really weren't in a major rush. So we start walking over, because my doctor's office is in with the hospital. So we start walking over to the hospital part, and we're walking up to labor and delivery, and I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, I started getting nervous. I'm like, okay, this is so weird. You're walking in, going to have a baby, knowing that you're gonna leave with a baby. It's kind of scary because you don't know what to expect. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just so many emotions. I was like so excited, so ready, but yet I kept saying, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. I don't know why, because I was, but you know, just all the emotions and the nerves that go into it. So we finally get up to labor and delivery. We get in our room, and the nurse starts talking to us, and I was like, oh, my hospital gown. I had brought a hospital gown of my own, and it was in my bag, which was in the car. So I was like, oh, well, can I get mine? And she was like, yeah, sure, you know, no problem. So I sent my husband, Zach, to go get the bags out the car. And like, we laugh about this story now. He was going for like an hour, and he got lost in the parking lot trying to find our car to get the bags. And, you know, all these people are coming in the room. They're trying to get the admission stuff all straightened out. And I'm just like, my husband's not here. We really can't get started until he gets here. So anyway, like, I call him. I'm like, where are you? He's like, you're never going to believe this. I got lost in the parking lot. And I had to ask people for directions. I got so turned around. I'm like, typical. Like, this would happen to us. It was just funny. So we laugh about that story. But, anyway, once he got to the room, I got my gown on, I got ready. They started hooking up my IV, or trying to like get the IV started and getting things rolling. They of course put the blood pressure cuff on me, and they monitored my blood pressure throughout the whole process. Thankfully, it stayed very low. I think it was, you know, because I was sitting down, laying down, you know, I didn't really get up and move around a whole lot. So, you know, you're kind of limited to what you can do when you're in labor, of course. But, they got the IV, finally got it started. We met our nurses, and that was one thing that I prayed for was, you know, good nursing staff. And I can't even describe to you, like, the love that I have for my labor and delivery nurse is just, she was amazing. She really did truly make the experience so, like, relaxing. I mean, just, it was just the best. I loved her so much, and I was like, next time I have another baby, I want you to be my nurse. So anyway, that was a huge blessing to have that, because, you know, I was so nervous, and she really did help me. I started my Pitocin to induce the labor at 11:45 that morning. Our families had kind of started to arrive, my close friends and family. So we were visiting with them. My sister is also a nurse. My older sister is also a nurse. So she was there, and she was kind of helping me through it. It really didn't start off like I could feel the contractions very strong. You know, it was just kind of a slow drip. They started out very small dose of Pitocin, and they upped it like every 30 minutes. So I could start to feel the contractions, and they weren't really bad. So, you know, we were visiting with them, just enjoying the process, having the consistent contractions. And a few hours into it, maybe like, not even a few, like maybe like an hour and a half or 2 hours into it, my nurse comes in and my doctor comes in, and she checked me, and she also broke my water. At that point, I believe I was 4 centimeters, and they broke my water. And then after they broke my water, I think is when I really started to feel the consistent contractions that were pretty close together. So I did, you know, use some of my little eyes breathing, breathe through them. My husband was in there helping me. We got on the birthing ball, and I bounced for a little bit, did different positions on that to kind of help. I'll say that it was painful, but it wasn't like overbearing pain. So I could definitely manage through it. And like I said, I do have a high pain tolerance. And so I was good, you know, for a while. So hours of doing that and breathing through them, they started to get really consistent, and I was starting to get tired. I could feel my body getting tired. And I was like, look, I really don't want my body to get tired on me, because I know I've got like a long way to go. I just was preparing myself for that. Because, you know, being induced, they say, can take a while. So I was just like, I'm starting to get tired. These are really starting to get painful to breathe through. I was having like one on top of the other. And that was probably why I was like, okay, I'm ready to get the epidural now. If it would have been a little bit more spread out, or even a few more minutes in between them, I would have really been able to like, okay, take a break and do it. But in my mind, I was planning on getting the epidural anyway, so I was like, okay, why wait? Let me get that epidural. This is getting too painful. I can do it. I can get that epidural. I'm gonna be fine. So they make your family get out. They make your husband leave. The only person that's in there with you when you get the epidural is your nurse and the anesthesiologist. And once again, we had a wonderful anesthesiologist. My nurse was in there with me. I loved her. She helped me through it. You have to be super still and lean over. Epidural really wasn't even that bad. Like, you know, a lot of people say that's one of the worst parts. So I was once again preparing myself for the worst. And I'm glad that I did that, because now looking back on it, I can say, okay, it really wasn't bad. Like, I got so much relief once I got the epidural. So they did the epidural. I didn't have any problems with it. Shortly after getting it, I could start to feel myself getting numb. And I was able to really have relief there. And I was thankful for that. So I ended up taking a rest. All our family had stayed in the waiting room, and my husband was in there with me, and I laid down for like probably about 30 minutes or so. And I didn't really like sleep, but I rested, and it felt good to get a little bit of a break there. Then let's see, my husband left out. He went to go get something to eat. Oh, let me mention this too. I got my epidural, I don't know if I said this. I got my epidural around 4:45, and I was 5 centimeters dilated at that point. So my husband left to go get something to eat, and you know, we had a few more visitors that had come by. They were getting off of work. It was around that time. So they came in to see me, and we visited with people for a while. Once again, I was just like super relaxed and able to enjoy the process. So once I was able to really relax, I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel a lot of pressure, like lower down. My mom happened to be in the room at the time, and she was like, didn't the nurse tell you to say when you started to feel a lot of pressure, like to tell her to come check you? And I was like, yeah, I think she did. And I was just like, okay, yeah, this is a lot of pressure. Like, I kind of thought it was like just the contraction at first, and it was the contractions, but I was like, okay, yeah, this is getting more intense. So, you know, you could see on the monitor the contractions were like really getting big. And I could feel them. Even though I had the epidural, I could still feel the tightening in my stomach. And like, I didn't have that high of a dose of the epidural, I guess, because I could still move parts of my body. I could wiggle my toes. I couldn't lift my legs, but I could still like wiggle my toes. So I could still feel, which was good. I couldn't feel the pain, but I could still feel something. And that made me feel better too, because I was like nervous about having the epidural, being so numb, not being able to feel anything. But I was able to feel, so that was good. Also, I could feel like the contractions like really getting tighter. So that was like kind of like, okay, is that epidural starting to wear off? Like, I kind of started to think that, but then I was like, it's not hurting like that bad, so I'm okay. So anyway, the nurse came in and she checked me, and I was fully dilated at 10 centimeters. So this was like maybe an hour after I got the epidural, I was 10 centimeters dilated. So that happened pretty quick. So my husband had thankfully come back in the room whenever she started to check me, and I was like, okay, we're 10 centimeters, like we're getting ready. And like I said, I was feeling this intense amount of pressure. So, okay, and we're back. We had to take a quick little feeding break. And now I have little Henry here with me. He's playing with his toy. Hi. So sweet. But anyway, where I left off. So the nurse, you know, checked me at 10 centimeters dilated. So she's like, okay, well, let's practice pushing. So we did a couple rounds of our practice pushing. And she was like, okay, you're going to have to stop. you're a really good pusher and you can't practice anymore. And I was like, okay. Like, we just did a couple rounds. She was like teaching me, you know, counting me through it. I was breathing through it. I like wasn't really that bad. So I just kept saying, oh my gosh, the pressure is so intense. I was just feeling so much pressure. So she calls my doctor, and the doctor's like, okay, well, I'm gonna head up there. So she's coming, the doctor's on her way, and the nurse like calling all the staff. She's like, we're about to deliver in room, you know, whatever room number I was. And so all these people start coming in, they start setting up the room. They've got like all these crazy lights coming on, and everybody's like scrubbing up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's about to happen. But then I was like, I can hardly like even think straight because the pressure was so intense. So it felt like 200 years went by. That's a very big over exaggeration. But it felt like forever for the doctor to come. She finally got there, and she barely got there just in time because I did a few more pushes, and the doctor came in just in time for me to push out. And oh, y'all, that moment was just so surreal. Like, his little cry, it was just the best little sound. They laid him on me. Zach got to cut the cord. He was so excited, and it was just so amazing.
Congrats, guys. You did amazing.
Look how big his little eyes are.
Yeah, I just want to get a picture.
Yeah. He's healthy.
You did so awesome, Katelyn.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
I want to relive that moment over and over 1,000 times. Yeah, we were just so thankful. Super healthy baby. I was doing fine. My blood pressure was still good. I had no problems at all. I'm so thankful. And I just remember like all the nurses are like, congrats, you know, they're so excited for you. They're cheering you on the whole time, and then it finally is there, and they're just so excited for you. And my doctor's like, wow, he's chunky. You know, she's like, I hope you didn't buy any newborn clothes. And I was kind of laughing like, oh no, well, we only had like a couple things in newborn size. And we're like, wow, he is big. So like they lay him on me, and we're like, look at his hands, how big. They're like, look at his chunky thighs. I'm like, oh, I could just eat him up. He was so chunky when he came out. So cute. And he still is so chunky. So they laid him on me for a little while, and then they had to take him over to the little warmer to do some little oxygen things for him. He was breathing, but he wasn't like crying a whole lot, so they just like went and did the oxygen, I guess, just to boost him. And so Zach went over to the little warmer with him. They did the oxygen, and they weighed him, and he was like, okay, guess how much he weighs? And I'm like, I don't know, like 9 pounds. He's like, 9 pounds and 13 ounces. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. How did I just give birth to an almost 10-pound baby? Like, we were all just like super shocked. And my doctor's like, well, I'm glad we induced you when we did, because I mean, he would have been like so much bigger if we would have waited till you were 40 weeks. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that was kind of crazy. He was so big, and he still is so big. But just what a miracle it is, like, and a privilege to become a parent. We're so thankful, and we are so blessed. God has blessed us so much. It's just so surreal, that moment, and then just becoming a parent, pregnancy, birth, what a miracle it is that your body can do the things that it does. I actually posted an Instagram of like all of my belly updates of him like growing inside my belly and what it looks like. Like, it just blows my mind, like, you know, how all that just, you don't even have to do anything and your body just does it. It's just so amazing and such a miracle. And like I said, he's just so sweet, and we're just so blessed and privileged to be his parents. And we actually finally fully decided on his name after he was born. We called him Baby J up until he was born. And me and my husband decided between 2 different names, and we went with Henry because it was one of his great-grandfather's names, so it was a family name. And Paul is actually my husband's middle name and his dad's name and his grandpa's name. So it's all around the family name, and we call him Henry Paul. And we love him, and he's just so sweet. He really is such a good baby. Here is the little man himself, Mr. Henry Paul. And he was 9 pounds, 13 ounces, 21 inches when he was born on November 5th, 2018 at 6:43 p.m. So all in all, I was in labor for about 7 hours, way less than what we were expecting being induced. And my doctor actually thinks that I was already in labor on my own, so that's what really helped speed up the process. But we were just so thankful that everything went so smoothly. God truly answered our prayers, and he blessed us so much. If you have any other questions or any other requests for videos, please leave them down in the comments below. Thank y'all all so much for watching. I really hope that this video helped y'all, and stay tuned for more coming soon. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye!
Best grandpa ever. That's you. Happy. What?
Are you pregnant?
Are you serious? Oh my gosh!
This one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Whatever.
Surprise!
Wait, what?
What?
Are you
Yeah.
being for real? Like, wait, for real?
What I miss? We're having a baby.